Hello friends, welcome to the last topic of macroeconomics. As I told you in my previous class that during the next class we will be discussing the last topic of macroeconomics from class 12th, and which is the exchange rate and its determination in the exchange rate market. So first the question arises, what is exchange rate or foreign exchange rate? So first we should understand that foreign exchange is the currency other than the domestic currency. Hence foreign exchange or Forex, what is called as in short, the foreign exchange is the currency other than the domestic currency. Say for example the US dollars, the Canadian dollars, the euros and many more. So the currency which we are having other than the rupees is known as foreign exchange with us, which we have talked during the balance of payments accounts when we were discussing balance of payments. This we have also discussed. And now in today's class we will be discussing the foreign exchange rate and its determination. First we should understand that what is foreign exchange rate. So foreign exchange rate is the rate, as I have written here, foreign exchange rate is the rate at which one currency can be converted into another currency. This one. So this is the definition of foreign exchange rate. Say for example, if we exchange rupees 70 in $1, so we may say like this, that exchange rate of dollar is equal to rupees 70. So we may write like this. Then as far as the the types of exchange rate is concerned, different countries follow the different patterns. Before we proceed, first I would like to tell you that the market in which the national currencies are traded with one another is called foreign exchange market. As far as the participants are concerned, the major participants of foreign exchange markets are the commercial banks, the market brokers, other agents, and of course the monetary authorities. Though they work in their own territory, at their own trading centers, but this market is worldwide and it has its transactions at worldwide level. Now as far as the types of exchange rate is concerned, as I told you, different countries have a different system of exchange rate. So there are mainly three types of exchange rate. First one is floating exchange rate, second one is fixed exchange rate system, and the third one is managed floating exchange rate system. So first we will take these one by one in details. Now first I am going to take the floating exchange rate system. So first one is the floating exchange rate, or what is called as the floating exchange rate system. So we will be dealing with the determination of exchange rate, determination of exchange rate in floating or what is called as flexible, both are same, floating exchange rate system. Okay. Now before we proceed further, first I would like to tell you what is a floating exchange rate. Floating exchange rate means it is a system of exchange rate in which the exchange rate is determined with the market forces of demand and supply of foreign exchange. So we can understand it better with the given diagram, as I am going to tell you with the help of diagram. First you can pause the video to note it down, then I will explain how we determine the exchange rate. So in a free market, the determination of exchange rate will be done at a point where the market forces intersect each other, which is the point over here. So this is the point of exchange rate determination. The exchange rate will be E star, and say for example it is the exchange rate between rupees and dollar. As we can say that 70 rupees is equal to $1. So here we are taking the examples of rupee and dollar. So rupees 70 is equal to $1. So we can write this exchange rate like this: rupees 70 per dollar or per American dollar. This is the exchange rate depicted in this given diagram. So determination of exchange rate is done in a free market. Free market means where there is no government intervention. The exchange rate is being determined with the free forces of market, that is demand and supply of foreign exchange. Here RBI will not intervene or Central Monetary Authority will not intervene. So there is no scope for maintaining official reserve account if there is a system of a free market floating exchange rate determination. So before we proceed further, now it's a time to understand the demand for foreign exchange and the supply for foreign exchange. What are the factors which determine or which affect the demand and supply for foreign exchange? Now as we are moving towards the demand for foreign exchange, demand for foreign exchange constitute all those elements which are caused the outflow of foreign exchange, by which the foreign exchange is being outflowed from the domestic country or domestic economy. First one here I have written is imports. So imports is the major factors for foreign exchange outflow. Like for example, the importers needs foreign exchange to buy the foreign goods or commodities in the international market. Now second one is foreign transfer payments. Yes, transfer payments, or what is called as unilateral transfers, which are in the form of gifts, grants, donations, remittance, etc. So gifts, grants, remittance, etc. These are the components of transfer payments. If the nationals are doing these transfer payments towards the foreigners, then they require the foreign exchange. So the third one is investment abroad. If we are purchasing the assets over there, or we are doing the investment in terms of shares, bonds, etc., then we require this foreign exchange. So third part, investment abroad, is yet another important part. The fourth one is tourism abroad. If somebody wants to go abroad to see their scenic beauties or for sightseeing, so he or she must have accompanied with the foreign exchange or forex only, as these are the mode of medium of payment over there. Now the last one is the foreign exchange speculation. Yes, speculation is yet another important part. Say for example, suppose now in our today's exchange rate, the British pound is just rupees 90 is equal to the 1 British pound. So this is the exchange rate of pound to rupees. And if there is a speculation that at the end of this month or at the end of 1 month, this exchange rate will be higher, which will be what is called as rupees 95. this is the speculation in the market. So what will happen, the investors or the persons will try to purchase the more pound from British, the more British pound. Say for example 1000. If the people purchase 1000 British pound, so at the end of this month they will be able to get 5000 more earning on these purchase. So in this way the speculation play a big role for the demand of foreign exchange. So these all factors are related with the demand for foreign exchange, or by which we demand for foreign exchange. Now you can pause the video to note it down, then I will tell you the factors which affect the supply for foreign exchange. Now as far as the supply of foreign exchange is concerned, there are certain factors which are responsible for increase in supply of foreign exchange, and they go as follows. First one, just opposite to the demand for foreign exchange, what we have discussed, the import was there. So export will be here. Exports will increase the supply of foreign exchange. If our exports will be increased, definitely we will receive the payment in terms of foreign exchange, so its supply will be increased. Foreign investment, as I have discussed while we were dealing with the balance of payments, that foreign investment is mainly of two types, that is FDI and FII. It's constitute mainly these two components. Foreign direct investment, when the investors gets the management capacity or managing power for the production ventures, and FII, it's only provides you the benefits investment only, or we can invest in terms of equity shares. We are not having any kind of ownership in it. This is foreign institutional investment, or what is called as portfolio investment. Then the third one is foreign tourism. Yes, again the tourism abroad was in the case of demand for foreign currency, and if foreigners are coming to our country, then they will bring with them the foreign exchange. So it is a good source for foreign inflow. And other sources includes like foreign earning, factor earning from abroad, the NRIs which they send the amount which is known as the remittance, or the grants, or the gifts which we get from abroad. So these all are the sources of supply for foreign exchange. Now if we look about this diagram, the demand curve slopes downward. As we know, the slope of demand curves, it goes downwards, and downward slope shows the negative relationship between price and quantity. Yes, of course, if the exchange rate will increase, the quantity will decrease. How it will be happen? So see what will happen. If the exchange rate will increase, it means that our domestic currency has been depreciated. When our domestic currency will be depreciated, then our import will be decrease. Why it will decrease? Because earlier we were able to buy more quantities in that much of amount, while in today's scenario we will be able to buy less quantity than before. So that is why, due to the increase in exchange rate, the demand for foreign exchange will decrease. And while we will be dealing the case of supply for foreign exchange, there is a positive relationship, as the slope of supply curve is given over here. It slopes upward. So upward slope shows the positive relationship between price and quantity. Yes, if we look about the exports, when our exchange rate will be increased, it means the exports will also be increased. If our domestic currency is depreciated, say for example today's the 70 rupees is equal to $1, and suppose this will goes down, this will increase, the exchange rate will increase from 70 to 75, and it will be up to $1. What does it mean? It means that now the Americans will be able to buy more Indian products with the particular amount which they were able to spend in earlier times. So what will happen? Our exports will be increased, and it is increased, and the inflow of foreign exchange will also be increased. And why it will be increased? Because of this increased exchange rate. So that is why it shows the positive relationship between price and quantity of supply of foreign exchange. Students, whatever we have discussed so far was the regime of floating exchange rate system. And now we are moving towards the fixed exchange rate, or what is called as fixed exchange rate system. Under the floating exchange rate, there was no role of monetary authority of government, because the exchange rate is determined purely under the free market with the help of market forces, that is demand and supply for foreign exchange. But under the fixed exchange rate system, the government or the central monetary authority plays a vital role, because it is a system in which the exchange rate between two currencies is fixed at a government level. Say for example, in the case of India, suppose the government wants to fix the exchange rate at rupees 70 per dollar. This is the exchange rate which government wants to fix in terms of American dollar. So $1 will be equal to 70 Indian rupees. Now we can understand its determination with the given diagram. Again, this DD curve shows the demand for foreign exchange curve, and the SS curve shows the supply for foreign exchange curve. We are measuring the amount or quantity of foreign exchange on x-axis, and the exchange rate or rate of exchange on y-axis in terms of dollar per rupees or rupees per dollar. So in this case, under the fixed exchange rate regime, suppose the exchange rate is E star, where the supply and demand curve are intersecting, and this is that point only where the government desired level is achieved, which is the rupees 70 is equal to 1 American dollar. Now suppose government wants to increase its export. So what will happen? If government wants to increase its export, what will happen? The exchange rate will be increased. When exchange rate will be increased, it means the rupees have become cheaper in comparison to dollar. Suppose now the exchange rate between $1 and rupee will be 75. Now the exchange rate has been increased by the government. In this way, the imports from our country will be cheaper. Please try to understand, when exchange rate will be increased, it means there is a depreciation in our domestic currency, and when we decrease our currency or we reduce the value of currency at government level, then it is called as devaluation. So when there is a devaluation in the domestic currency in comparison to foreign currency, then the imports from our country will be cheaper, and consequently our exports will be more than before. So exports will be greater at E1 level. And what will happen at E1? Suppose the government fix the exchange rate from E star to E1. Now what will happen? Here this gap shows the excess supply, because here the supply is more than the demand. Here the supply is greater than demand. Now what will happen? The extra supply will be absorbed by the Central Monetary Authority, or what is called as RBI in India. And suppose government wants to decrease the foreign exchange supply in our country, so it will decrease the exchange rate. Suppose the exchange rate will be decreased from 70 to 65 now. Suppose government fixes this exchange rate in comparison to dollar. We are talking about the fixed exchange rate system, a fixed exchange rate regime. This is what happened in when the fixed exchange rate regime was prevailing. So E2 has been fixed by the government, and what is E2? E2 is less than the E star. And what is the situation over here? Here the demand is greater. Here the demand for foreign exchange is greater than its supply. So what will happen? The Central Monetary Authority will supply this or will fill this gap. So in this system of foreign exchange rate, these monetary authority or central bank play a vital role by purchasing and selling this international currencies or this foreign exchange. So hence we can say that official reserve plays a big role during this fixed exchange rate regime than in compared to the floating exchange rate system. Now you can pause the video to note it down. Now the third system is the managed floating exchange rate system. Without any international agreement, the world has moved towards what is called as the managed floating exchange rate system. What is this managed floating exchange rate? It has been derived from the floating exchange rate system or the flexible exchange rate system. The flexible exchange rate or the floating exchange rate, where the exchange rate is determined with the free market forces, that is demand and supply for foreign exchange. The flexible exchange rate system is also called as clean floating, but here the managed floating exchange rate system is called as dirty floating. Why it is called as dirty floating? Because it has been intervened by the Central Monetary Authority or the central bank of the country. Most of the countries are following this system. What is this system? Under this system, the exchange rate is determined with the market forces, which is demand and supply for foreign exchange, but the central bank intervene with the help of foreign currencies for purchase and sale of foreign currencies to control the fluctuations which can be arise in the determination of exchange rate. Yes, of course, there can be the fluctuations. Like for example, today's the exchange rate between rupees and American dollar is 70 per American dollar, but it may be possible that for the next month or for the next to next month the exchange rate will maybe 75 or 80 in comparison to 1 American dollar, or it may be 65 or 60 in comparison to 1 American dollar. Let's take an example. Suppose today is the exchange rate between rupees and dollar is rupees 70 per American dollar. Suppose the currency will be depreciated and the exchange rate will be rupees 80 per American dollar. But the central bank or the government wants to keep it only 75 per American dollar. Only this 5 fluctuation can be bearable and not more than that. So what will happen? The central bank will cover up this extra 5 rupees. How it will cover up? It will intervene with the help of its foreign reserves, because we know that central bank is the custodian of foreign reserves, so it has sufficient foreign reserve with itself, so it can release its reserves. Definitely there will be decrease in its foreign reserves, but by releasing its reserves it can maintain this much of exchange rate between dollar and rupees. So this is how the central bank manage the floating of exchange rate. So we can say that it is the combination of fixed as well as floating exchange rate. Floating exchange rate in the sense that it is being determined with the market forces of demand and supply, and fixed in the sense that it has been kept more or less fixed with the help of central bank intervention. So that is why it is known as dirty floating. So that dirty hand is the hand of RBI in case of India, or the dirty hand is the hand of Central Monetary Authority of that particular country where this system is being implemented or where this system is being prevailed. So this is what the exchange rate is all about. In today's class we have talked about what exchange rate is all about and what is the definition of that, the system of exchange rate. There are three types of systems: the floating exchange rate, or what is called as flexible exchange rate system. Then we talked about the fixed exchange rate system, and then we have moved towards the managed floating exchange rate system, which most of the countries are having without any formal international agreement. And this managed floating exchange rate is also known as dirty floating. And one more important terms which I have touched a bit, let me recall you that I have talked about when we will be dealing with the flexible exchange rate regime, then if there is a decrease in the domestic currency in comparison to foreign currency, then it is known as depreciation. While under the fixed exchange rate regime, when there is a reduction in the value of domestic currency in comparison to international or foreign currency, it is usually done by the government, as under the fixed exchange rate system the exchange rate is determined by the government only, or the Central Monetary Authority. So it is known as devaluation. And similarly, when our currency is appreciated in comparison to foreign currency with the market forces of demand and supply under the flexible exchange rate regime, then it is known as appreciation. And when there is a deduction in the value of domestic currency in comparison, or there is a increase in the value of domestic currency in comparison to foreign currency, then this is known as the revaluation of domestic currency under the fixed exchange rate regime. Or under the flexible exchange rate regime, it is known as appreciation. So under the flexible, we have appreciation and depreciation of domestic currency, and under the fixed exchange rate regime we have devaluation and revaluation of domestic currencies. So this is what the exchange rate system is all about. Now we have been finished the first book, which is known as macroeconomics for class 12th, which carries the 40 marks weightage. And from the next class we will be dealing with the next book, the second book, which is known as Indian Economic Development, carries 40 marks as well. So both these books carry equal marks, 40 each. So we will be dealing with the second book from the next class, which is that Indian Economic Development, and we will be start from the very first topic, which is known as Indian economy on the eve of independence. So hope you all are getting and you all are being benefiting. Please subscribe our channel. Thank you for watching.